Good evening, Monrovia!
Central Avenue begin to dry up. Okay, what happens?
Welcome to the show known as Conversations in Monrovia. I'm your host, Ralph Walker, and if you've been tuning in to Channel 3, you know there's been a lot of activity associated with the station. My guest I have here today is Mency, and she is on the Boys and Girls Board of Director there. She's also on the Planning Commission, and she's the embattled president of KGEM. How you doing, Mimi? How you doing today?
I'm fine, Ralph.
A pleasure to have you here on the show.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you on the air again. Embattled president or chairperson? I don't think I'd quite put it that way, but it's okay.
Well, you would once led to believe that if you pick up the newspaper or tune in, you see one segment of the population sort of like in uproar. So I said embattled. How do you define it then, if it's not in battle?
Well, you know, I could probably answer that better if the people who feel that they are not happy would communicate with the KGEM board. I did receive a packet day before yesterday from the meeting from City Council. In that packet, I'm sorry, in reading all of those things, I really couldn't find out what the issue was unless we're talking personnel, and of course, by rights, I cannot talk about personnel.
Now, when you say packet, are you saying a fan mail coming in from the post office or one large envelope with letters stuffed in it, or what? Why do you define the packet?
One large envelope that was given to City Council, and City Council was kind enough to pass the information on to me, and even as we speak, it is being passed on to the other board members. And in a quick glance at that information, I'd be happy to respond to each and every person, but I do have a problem because some of them don't have a name. Some signatures I'm unable to read, and I would love to respond to these people about the concerns from KGEM. I'd like to know exactly what their perception of that is wrong as well as right with KGEM.
So would you label that packet junk mail?
No, I wouldn't say it's junk.
I mean, you have no names on some of the...
Well, that's true too, but I think if anyone who wants to express an opinion, whether it's in a form type of letter or an original type of letter, deserves to be answered.
Well, if they don't have a name, how are you going to answer it?
Well, that's what I'm saying, and what I'm asking is actually those people that either did not sign their name or signed their name and with no address or telephone number, if they will please call the offices, which is 932-5555, extension 399, leave that information if I'm not there, at least on the answering machine, and I will be responding to them either in person or by letter.
Okay. I call it junk mail because even if you write a letter to any newspaper, you have to disclose your name and your address so they can get back to you. So it's sort of bogus. But we won't spend a whole lot of time on your family. And maybe they'll send you some nice cards out there. All right. What is the status of KGEM as far as production, as far as what's going on in the studio? Are there programs in production?
Yes, There are programs in production. There are new programs in production. We are still receiving requests to do bicycle tape, which we will too. And of course, under our bicycle tape rule, we need a community sponsor, and we'll certainly put a disclaimer on it. But we're more than happy to run those and fit them in our schedule, certainly behind the productions that our own Monrovians do.
All right. Now, for some of the viewers out there, and they may be wondering about that terminology, bicycle tape, that's when a producer from another community or a joint effort with someone that lives in Monrovia brings in the tape for KGEM to play. It's reviewed by a board before it's played, or what is that?
Well, no, it's actually reviewed by our staff. And we review everything we do, whether it's a production that we make or a production that is made by our producers. We need to time them, label them, so forth and so on. But it's a fairly simple procedure.
And I think it's common in most communities.
Common in most communities and certainly most public access stations.
Okay, a question that someone asked me, what is the vision of KGEM? As the chairperson of the board of directors and dealing with what is the vision for KGEM? Yes.
Well, certainly I'll speak for the board in that respect. The vision for KGEM is to not only get new producers, send them through training so that they can produce the show, but to even elevate that. We not only want a producer who can do a show like you and I sitting here talking,
Right.
but also action types of productions, also editing, as well as directing. We have a fabulous light center here that we have recently put in place. We want people to learn to use it to the most efficient use that is possible. So KGEM is envisioning not only expanding our technical knowledge to those existing producers, but also envisioning adding to our educational program. For instance, more shots of the elementary schools. We now have a science show for one of our middle schools. I'd like to see that go down to the elementary level. I've talked to the teacher in charge. He is certainly amenable to this. I will be working with the school district, with the curriculum people. One of the things that we definitely see that we need here is we're getting so good that we're really outgrowing our space. So among the plans that I have, and I have briefly talked to the principal here, is to try to enlarge our studio so that we can do more.
Growing pains.
Growing pains, that's exactly.
On many fronts.
Many fronts.
Now, did you touch on the high school? It seems to be an absence of programming from the high school. The football games are televised back, but you don't really get a real input from the high school. Why is that?
Okay, the high school is in a very unique position, and that is their audio-video classes are done on the ROP, the Regional Occupation Program, okay? And even though they have productions, or they're in the mode of doing productions, it takes longer because that particular teacher not only teaches in Monrovia, but other school districts as well. Among the discussions I plan to hold with the school district to increase the curriculum at the high school, of course with budget restraints, to see if we can't pick up those students who come from junior high school and continue them in their freshman year, sophomore year, before they get into an ROP program as far as the video, audio type of
Because their appetite is being whet at this level, at the junior high school level.
That's
and then when they go to the high school, it's sort of like a void there.
We have a lull of 2 years.
Okay.
You have to be a junior in order, and a certain age, in order to participate in the ROP program.
Now let me go back for a moment. Some of the viewers out there may be wondering, what does it take to be a producer? What really is the route that one has to take? What is that?
Okay, the route that they have to take, number one, is they have to be certified. And we do offer classes. Now, because of the upcoming holidays, November and December, there'll be no classes. Classes will resume January of this coming year.
So you're saying all those people that get video cameras for Christmas and might want to be creative.
We are ready for them.
Okay, good timing.
That information will be posted on our bulletin board, or they can call the office, and we will certainly be more than happy to take their name, telephone number, and we will get back to them as to the start date and everything involved in a producer's class.
So those classes will entail operation of the camera
Yes, it will.
and
Yes, it will.
the lighting, things associated with the technical aspect of shooting a show.
The initial producer's class does not really entail that. What it entails is the rules and regulation of a PEG station. It also entails, yes, some camera work, what you need to do to be a producer, the rules and regulations of public access, okay? This is why we are planning and will have advanced classes to go into the minute details. For instance, some people may only want to be a camera person.
Right.
Okay? Some people may want to be a director. Some people may be a producer. And the difference, of course, is a director who is responsible for making sure the camera angles and all those good things.
Making us look good.
Making us
as we
look
speak.
as best they can under the circumstances. A producer is the person who is responsible for getting the guests that they want to speak and lining them up, getting them here, topics, so forth and so on. A cameraman, of course, is self-explanatory.
Right.
As with the lighting.
Oh, camera person.
Sorry, camera person. You're
right,
absolutely
because
correct.
women love to do camera
You're
also.
absolutely correct. And I have seen students here at Clifton, both girls and boys, that are equally expertise on the equipment. It's really fantastic to watch the kids.
So it becomes a team effort
Yes, it does.
all the way around.
All the way around.
Okay, that sounds good.
This will start in January, and of course with our existing producers, they are still coming in and editing and shooting programs, and those programs will be shown certainly during November, December.
Okay, now going back to the city council meeting,
Yes.
which was a little different for a change. It was, I won't use the word chaotic, I'll say maybe informative in many ways, because a lot of individuals that got up to speak left the impression that the city council controls KGEM. Who controls KGEM?
KGEM is a separate corporation, okay? And it involved from a city corporation, and I happened to sit on that particular board. However, I was not in the negotiation for the split. I came on board when the new corporation formed as a full-time member of the board. But it is actually a separate corporation, okay? We do contract with the city, even though those contracts are still under negotiation, but we do contract with the city for the government portion of our charge.
Now, one gets the impression if you read some of the printed media that the board, KGEM board, was given an ultimatum. Can you elaborate on that now, or would you care to, or is it still in that negotiating stage? Or
Well, there was a letter addressed to me, and my perception of the letter was not an ultimatum. As you know, we are having a study session with the city on November the 16th at 6 o'clock at the police conference building. And we will be discussing aspects of KGEM, of how we're operating during our interim period, and to do where we're going, so forth and so on.
so it's more of reassessing, reevaluating your stand in a sense, as far as the board of directors are. Is it time for a change with the board of directors? Is it time for some new blood?
There will be new blood on the board because we have had some resignations, okay? As far as time for a change, I'm not sure that's a fair assessment. You must remember that this corporation has only been in existence for 1 year. Even though some of the members were former commissioners, this is still new to all of us. So, no, to say that the board needs to be changed, no, I don't believe that. So I believe that we have members of our board who are conscientious and concerned about Monrovia, and that is the way they're reacting.
Well, they could also stay on as advisory position also.
Yes, we do have advisory positions with our subcommittees, and certainly, you know, those people are certainly welcome to become any part of our subcommittees.
All right. What the viewers out there may be wondering, what does it take to be a board member? What does it take to say, hey, I think KGM needs to improve on this area. I have this expertise in this field. I would like to become an active, rather than sitting at home and saying, yeah, all I get is a bulletin board. There's no improvement. What's going on with that state? How does one funnel that energy in that positive manner?
Okay, funneling that energy is really quite simple. If you will send a resume of what you've done in the community, how long you've lived in the community, your areas of concern, and if you have areas of expertise, to us at KGEM, 415 South Ivy, you know, because we know,
KGEM?
attention KGEM, we have a box there.
Okay.
Or you can call 818-932-5555, extension 399. If I'm not there, like I said, I pick up messages, I will get back to you. We always, ultimately, hopefully, will like to have in the bands members of the community who would like to be a member of our KGEM board and or serve on any of our subcommittees.
Now, when you mentioned you do have openings.
Yes, we do have openings. And
How many? What is a full board? Is it?
a full board is 9 people.
Okay, and currently you're at what
Currently,
level?
we're at 7.
Okay.
Okay. And as a matter of fact, I have received resumes for vacant positions. I'm in the process of getting to those people. Once I have the resume and information at hand, the nominating committee will be meeting, making decisions, and we'll be able to fill our board.
Now, some of the viewers out there may be wondering, is this a paid position? When you hear the term resumes, you immediately think of money.
Unfortunately, this is not a paid position. You know, I do what I do.
Okay.
And I think whatever I can do to benefit the city of Monrovia and to project to the outside world how great Monrovia is, because I think that's one of the reasons why we won the All-America title, All-America Cities title.
Right.
It is not a paid position.
Okay. Well, you know, when you think of television, you always hear lucrative contracts and things associated with that. But when it's real television, like community television, it's from the heart and not from the pocket.
It's from the heart and from the love, for the love of it.
Okay. All right, as we move on, we talked about being a board member. We talked about the vision of KGEM. And we like almost full circle. And I'm wondering, if you had to give a message out to the community, what would it be as president or chairperson? What would that message be?
My message would be to the community. Number one, this particular board is trying very hard to communicate with the community in the forms of our shows. We'd be more than happy to hear from you, whether you like or dislike shows. We'd be more than happy to have you serve on our board or on our subcommittees. We're a group of volunteers, just as our producers and whatnot, and our paid staff is very small. But we all do this for the love of Monrovia.
Mm-hmm. Now, you say there's a meeting that's going to be taking place at the police department on November
16th, 6 o'clock.
And why at 6 o'clock? When I think of parents getting dinner ready, I think of dad coming home. The peak is like, is that a good time, 6 o'clock?
Well, most of us are busy people.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 o'clock happened to be a time that was agreeable for all of us, those that work, those that are retired like myself, for council people to also meet. So that's why 6 o'clock.
Why not a Saturday when everybody's at home and more? I get the feeling that you would get more involvement.
Well, you know what? I I don't object to involvement. I don't think that crossed my mind. In setting up this particular meeting, my concern was to have it as soon as we could so that we could not only give information to City Council, but so that City Council can receive that information and perceive where we're going. So if the time is inconvenient, I certainly apologize to the general public, and certainly hope it is an open meeting, and certainly hope that people will come.
Maybe a follow-up meeting?
That's quite possible. Only the 16th will tell that.
Only the 16th would tell that. Well, maybe if other viewers out there, the viewers out there watching them, viewers out there watching, maybe they could phone in and leave some of their ideas or their suggestions on your voicemail or even write to you.
Absolutely.
Get that address again as they look for that fabulous instrument right here known as a pill.
Certainly. That address is 415 South Ivy Avenue. And of course, that's Monrovia, addressed to KGEM. We'd be more than happy to listen to the views, read the views, comment on the views.
Comment. In other words, get involved.
Absolutely.
And I must reflect on this show, Conversations in Monrovia, is part of KGEM's outreach into the community to get involved, to hear some of the issues that's out there. When you win an award of that statue, or All-American City, all of a sudden the problems come to the front, believe it or not, because you have this image that's bestowed upon you as a great city.
Absolutely.
So the battle starts once you get it. You got to maintain it. And to maintain anything in life, you have to do a little work. So you have to make a sacrifice. And so those viewers out there, that's free at 6 o'clock. Come on down there on November 16th. Might be your first time to see the new police department.
Right.
For a lot of people, right?
For a lot of people. It's a beautiful facility.
And I think it's about time to wrap up this segment of Conversations in Monrovia. I'm your host, Ralph Walker, and my guest, Mimi Mency. I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Ralph, and I welcome back. It's a pleasure to have Conversations in Monrovia back with us.
All right, appreciate that. And if you know someone out there with an unusual talent or the ability to stimulate the audience, don't hesitate to call that number 397-4974. Did I say the wrong number?
You sure did, Ralph.
I better say it again, 357-4974.